Hey you, we're back with a brand new review, and this is the Power Rangers Ninja Steel Volume 2. I've got to admit, it's kind of a little bit better than the first, but let's just jump straight into the review. So what do you get on this DVD? Well, you don't really get a lot, to be fair. You only get 4 episodes: Drive to Survive, but I kept thinking it was called Dive to Survive, My Friend a Redbot, Hack Attack, and Gold Rush. There are no special features on this whatsoever, which is a really big shame because they're missing out on so much. So let's talk about the overview. We continue with the Rangers defending the Earth against Galvanax, and they're obviously all going to school too. We have Victor and Monty, who are goddamn annoying. Each episode isn't that bad. It has its flaws. Some of them really do have a lot of flaws in them, but generally it's not a bad kind of watch. You have the sort of theme behind it, a message that is kind of embedded in every single episode that the Rangers will learn, or they'll kind of like touch upon a lot later on. The stories, they kind of do make sense, and then near kind of the end we see that the Gold Rangers introduced, which to me was a little bit weird because normally they introduce the Gold Ranger much later on, but it felt like they wanted to rush it. So I don't know if in Ninja that that the Gold Ranger appears quite quickly, so they had to kind of rush it in because we're only, I think it's like episode 6. 6 or 7, he's introduced properly. And also you get a tiny little bit of ninja action, which is very weird because you think it'd be all the way through it. Drive to Survive. In this episode we find that Kelvin has made a bike, and it's he's really happy about it, but he's telling Sarah that, hey, you can take it on a test drive, and she's like, no, you do it, you go on your test ride and then I'll beat your score. And Kelvin's like, no, you can do this, I'm absolutely fine with this. And then we find out that he can't drive, but it's kind of weird because you see him driving, I think, and actually it's Haley driving, so you kind of think, we find out that he has a fear of driving. Something happened to him in his childhood that kind of affects him. The main monster is Tangleweb for this episode, and he has the ability to eat people, to eat objects, and store them in his kind of pocket dimension or whatever it is. Tangleweb then comes to Earth. He meets Victor and Monty, who have decided they're going to eat a lot of beans, and this is one thing that drives me mad. When Tangleweb covers them in web, he basically makes them a giant ball, he makes them kind of wrapped up, but then they end up farting a lot, which then expands the web later on, and they have to kind of bounce around. We'll talk about this in a bit. We switch to Calvin and Brody actually learning to ride the bikes. Brody doesn't know how to ride either. So he goes, do you know what? I'll do this. And he picks it up really quickly like he's a natural. And Calvin's like, yeah, whatever. And he kind of just leaves. At this point then the Rangers all get kind of tangled up in the web, and they get absorbed. Brody then tries to fight the monster alone, but then again he gets kind of eaten as well, and then Kelvin has to go through this whole I have to kind of conquer my fear, where he basically learns to drive by figuring out that when he throws the ninja star or ninja steel into the star, into the prism, then that's when he gets a new star, which is then for a bike. Then he gets absorbed into Tangleweb and then gets the bike out and frees everybody. That's pretty much the episode. The Rangers obviously fight, Tangleweb grows, and then they get a new Elephant Zord, which is the Rumble Tusk Zord, which obviously combines into a normal elephant, then turns into a little Megazord, and then can combine with the main Megazord. So when Tangleweb is defeated, that's when you will have Kelvin turning around saying, hey, guess what? I've finally got my driving license. And this is when Victor and Monty come in, and they're they're floating around, and then they hit the kind of the pole, this flag, and then all the methane, all the fart gets pushed out, and they spin around, and I'm just like, so for me it feels like their insides were completely rotten, and I don't know what their diet was, but it was mainly to kind of emphasize that if you eat tons of beans you're gonna keep farting, which at least they're getting protein. My Friend Redbot is the next episode, and this is an episode where we find out a little bit more about Redbot. He's not just a robot. So he's been reading this book about going to the royal ball, and he wants to go to. So when this dance at the school's having, he wants to go, and he chooses Haley. Haley just does, nah mate, nah, ain't gonna do that, you're just a robot. And with this, like, you know, it sends Redbot into like kind of a depressional spiral down, and he kind of leaves. We have then Victor saying that he is the best dancer, you know, he's going to win the trophy for the reward, and then basically covers Haley and Brody in crap. Not actual crap, but like food and stuff. And this is when Haley finds from Brody that Redbot has feelings. So she goes off and finds Redbot, but she meets up with the monster, who we've previously seen at the very beginning, who's called Bagpipes. Actually, not a bad play on words. Bagpipes, bad pipes. Bad pipes has the ability to make people dance or control. So when you first see it, you think, oh, so he's going to make people dance? And it's very well choreographed. The dance at the very beginning with Cosmo and the Kudabots. But he then says that he will take over the Rangers and make them give their ninja stars. So what does he do? He does it. Haley is about to hand over the ninja star very slowly, but the Bad Pipes just stands there. If it were me, I would take it and go, oh, thank you. And then that would be it. I would then just like take the start and just give it to Galvanax and come back. Obviously Redbot kind of like jumps in and he gets kind of beaten. So Haley kind of realizes that there's more stuff with Redbot, and she kind of takes him away, sends the dog off to kind of like grab the Rangers because that ninja comm is kind of broken. So then the Rangers see it, they go off into the woods, they meet Bad Pipes, and he does the same sort of effect, and they're about to give the ninja stars until Haley comes in with the motorcycle, and they all start fighting. They destroy the actual Bagpipes, so he can't use his magic or spell, and then he pretty much grows after the big massive fight. Brody fights Retcon, I think that's his name, and he carries on fighting and then defeats him. He finds out that Bad Pipes is all the way down on the beach, so he then I think goes down, or the Rangers all fight them down there, and they defeat him. Bad Pipes then grows into his giant form, and again the Rangers defeat him, thus therefore going to the dance, where Victor has asked Monty previously that he wants shoes to make him dance like a pro. So Monty makes them, Monty makes them badly. Victor goes off on his own because he can't control the dancing, and he gets like kind of like pushed with the kind of with the fire extinguisher. Haley is asked to dance. Haley says no. She goes to Redbot. They start dancing. Then the Rangers come in. They all start dancing, and again, very well choreographed. It's a very kind of weirdish episode. Hack Attack. Hack Attack is an episode that pretty much says, don't spread yourself too thin. If you have a job that you need to do, give it all your focus and then move on. Don't then just try and create excuses or ways to actually get to do 4 jobs done rather than such and such. So the episode is mainly about Sarah cloning herself so she can make other copies so they can do all the stuff. She wants to get really good credits going to college, so she then makes herself holographic clones, which will then go and do stuff at the chess club, at the tent making put-up club, the track club, and then obviously archery club. There's loads of little things that she does, and one thing is she makes a thing called an arrow boomerang, which then apparently gets the furthest distance away, and Victor and Monty hate that, or mainly Victor. They get bees. That made me laugh, where it's like, oh Victor, you got bees! I absolutely loved it, and I just love it when people go, bees! I don't know, I just find it funny. Hack Trap, I think is his name, or Hack Track, is the main bad guy. He basically fights the Rangers, notices that Sarah's technology can be downloaded into himself, so he can then make holoclones of Galvanax. Previously, Sarah has made like this kind of whip thing for the actual for the blasters, and they use this against the Kudabots. They tried to use this against giant Galvanax as well, but it just bounces off them. Sarah then tries to fix the problem by saying, hey, I can get all these clones to go do stuff, but again, it spreads itself too thin and she can't focus on the main problem. Mick gives the pep talk. You know, he's got the one-man band and starts banging stuff. It's like bam, bam, bam. And that's pretty much it. He gives her the talk. And then she kind of creates a new clone device to be absorbed by Hat Track, which will then stop the clones. So Hat Track, he grows to giant size, and the Rangers get the new Zord, which is a UFO Zord, because then Hat Track is like, oh, I can fly, the Rangers follow, but then they go into space and on the moon, and then they have a massive battle on the moon, which I think is kind of cool, and I'd love to see more fights like this in the future, and also maybe in the future episodes of Super Sentai, as well as Beast Morphers. After all this, Sarah learns that she can't do everything, so she decides that she is going to leave the archery club. This is when Victor and Monty are going to catapult themselves to the far end, which again, if you have that sort of machine, you should have been no, you're disqualified. That's not archery. That's a catapult. That's something completely different. So Victor gets off. He then teases Sarah, and then Monty gets flung across and actually hits the bullseye straight away, which would have broken his legs. Well done on that one, guys. This is when the episode's about to end, you think, oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. The UFO Zord goes off to Galvanax's ship and breaks out the Gold Ranger. Gold Ranger lands on Earth, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's the new Gold Ranger. And that's when the episode ends, so it ends on a little bit of suspense. Gold Rush. So, I'm kind of speeding through these because we've pretty much seen them, but I'm explaining very quickly what's happened. So Gold Rush is all about finding who the new Gold Ranger is. The bad guys will turn up, the Gold Ranger will defeat them, and the Rangers kind of miss him. We're introduced to a new character called Levi Weston, who is a very big country and western singer. Everybody really loves him and wants to kind of get his autograph. He's giving away the best costume, the backstage pass for his convention. Now Brody doesn't care about him. He doesn't really care about the fame. He doesn't care about anything. So he's treating Levi like a normal person. Now the one funniest thing is one of the girls in this, a little girl, she's dressed as his biggest fan. I thought that was hilarious. I thought, fair play. Victor and Monty are like, whatever. And they do something at the end that kind of annoys me. Ripcon and Kudabots decide to attack the kind of event that's going on. Brody saves Levi, and they basically cheese it off later to be helped. This is when Levi asks Brody if he would like to be a bodyguard for him to keep him safe in case something like this happens. Brody accepts, then obviously joins up with the other Rangers. They go down to the beach, and then they defeat Ripcon to some degree, cut off his horn, and then Ripcon and Mad and Odious just disappear. Now we come back to Brody and Levi kind of getting food. They help a mother in distress with her son as well. Brody fixes the car, and then obviously as Levi is about to give Brody some backstage passes, Brody has to run off to, obviously because Ripcon has actually kidnapped the Gold Ranger, what he thinks is the Gold Ranger. With this, they go down and do some ninja reaction like all the others until Brody meets up, and they find out that the Gold Power Star is in Ripcon's hand. So basically they're about to fight him. Ripcon puts a net down, and obviously Brody shoots out of the blue. He will shoot out Ninja Star out the hand, as well as the kind of chains that are holding the manager. Levi's manager has been kidnapped. Levi's manager basically runs off because he isn't the Gold Ranger. We find out that Levi is the Gold Ranger. He grabs the star, he morphs, he fights Ripcon on his own until the Rangers then decide to all team up together to kind of beat Ripcon. Ripcon just kind of runs away. At this point, we have a Skullgator who is the main bad guy, who is the main monster, and the Rangers all jump into the Megazord, including Levi, and they defeat Skullgator. They also do a kind of cloning technique, which then you see the Ninja Storm logo, which again was from the footage from the film or something from the team up, which again is very kind of weird to see this. The Rangers now all talk about what has happened, and we find out that Madame Odious kidnapped him, put him in the ship, drained his memories or something, and took the star. We then come to the end where it's the competition and what's being said, and we find out the little girl wins because Victor and Monty do the dickish thing and say, actually, we're the biggest fans. She's not a fan. She's a con artist or something like that. And then the girl goes, well, prove that you're a bigger fan. And I was like, yes, nothing said. They turn on the fan and Victor kind of flies away. It gets to me and it really annoys me. Let's talk about the writing for this. I think that the writing needed to be worked on. There was a lot of stuff on there that just didn't kind of go, It made me kind of it felt like the introduction of the Gold Ranger was rushed. Gold Rush. It felt like he could have come in a lot later. Now, I don't know if it's due to the footage or anything like that, but I think it would have been a lot better if taking the time. I did like that there was some suspense, where you've got Levi arrives on Earth and then runs away, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, is that a new Ranger?" So little bits of suspense was actually quite nice to see. There were some funny moments. I think probably the biggest funny moment is when the little girl is like, "I'm the biggest fan, see," and she's dressed as a fan. I thought that was genius. I generally really laughed when I first saw that. when it first aired, but this is actually quite funny to see. I think it also focused on Victor and Monty's humor, which to me is kind of overrated. It feels like from when you're coming from Dino Charge and Super Dino Charge, including all the others, even like, you know, they were all kind of serious tone. So with this one, it's like fart jokes aplenty, and the fandom really doesn't like this. And I've got to admit, after a while, it gets kind of boring if most episodes there's farting or fart jokes all the time, especially like when he's wrapped in the web and it expands to a ball and they start bouncing everywhere, and then a small little prick goes and they go flying. Also with the fan as well, that got me, because it's like it shouldn't be able to lift them up. So I think that they wanted to go for the comedy factor at the end, where all the kids are just like, oh my god, that's so funny, when it's not. Some of the messages in the episodes were actually quite interesting, like don't spread yourself too thin, you know, face your fears. If you can't do something, you know you can, go and do it. You know, these sorts of messages that we've always seen from Power Rangers, which I generally enjoyed and thought, you know what, you're doing good on this one, Power Rangers. So obviously they still had the kind of core messages in it. What made this interesting for me? Again, not a lot. I've not really kind of felt like Ninja Steel is a very interesting show. I think that there are some really good parts to it at times, but I think there's a lot of bad parts to it as well. Some of the characters that you see, like Mick, Calvin, and Maddie Amodius, they've had a lot of character development, and out of all three, those three are my favorite characters in this. It felt like they were growing as a characters where the others weren't, which is a bit of a shame, because I'd want them all to kind of grow. There was suspense in it, I will give it that. There was some bits of suspense that you're going like, oh my god, this is really cool, what's going to happen? But I generally kind of thought there could have been more to it, I think. I generally think that this series could have been a good one since it's leading up to the anniversary. My final thoughts. I originally thought that Ninja Steel would be a lot better than Dino Charge and Super Dino Charge. Obviously, we've seen the progression of the story. Dino Charge and Super Dino Charge are still possibly the best ones since Saban took over the brand back in the day. I think that you could have made this more serious. You could have changed the tone and gone, okay, we're being ninjas, not just high schoolers, etc, etc. And the way the thing is, like, obviously we know that Levi joins the team, so he goes from like being a pop singer or country western singer to a high schooler, and it's just like, you kind of, no, that doesn't really make sense. If Levi had been a student already, I could be like, yeah, it's fine, but he's from a country and western, he's a superstar, and yet he's now going to high school. It just kind of makes me think, meh. Some of the music choices was very, very weird, because when they're doing the finishes, it was the Dino Charge music. Now, I know a lot of people have said they actually tweak it a little bit, but at the very beginning, it's very Dino Charge music. Like, when you hear it, it's like, why is the Dino Charge theme of them like dun 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 dun, like that sort of music? There we go. It was just oddly placed, is what I'm thinking about, and I think that they could have changed it quite a bit. They could have put their own music in there, something slightly different. I think, though, obviously adding Monty and Victor as well, when they fly about when something happens, it kind of really takes you out, and it's like, why do they need to put it in there when it can't be possibly done? Would I pick this up? Yay and nay. Like, if I was collecting all the series on DVD, then yes. But if I was just starting and I just finished Dino Charge, I would possibly see reviews like this, as well as see what the fandom says, and I would possibly skip it. Now, I think this is an exclusive to Morrison's at the moment in the UK. It could be in HMV or any other website at the moment. I generally think that this could have been better. The series in general could have been better, but it's kind of nice to see a little bit of progression. If you are wanting to pick this up, then pick it up. You know, if you do want to check it out, then check it out and let me know what you think down below in the comments. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there because, yeah, there was quite a lot of stuff in this. So Rangers, your question of the day is, what do you think about Ninja Steel? Would you collect it? Would you not? Would you pass it on? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you've liked this video, like, favorite, comment, and consider subscribing. Check out all the other videos on the channel. If you want to help out the channel on Patreon, link is in the description down below. And as always, Rangers, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.